What's up, everybody? Welcome to A. Williams Productions, and today we'll be using a camera calibrator tool. So just to jump in, show you some of the renders that I've already pushed out. So the camera calibrator tool is a great tool to use to add scenes, objects, and animations into your scenes, into your objects, whether those scenes are static. For example, this is a good example because it's a photo, there's nothing moving, but if you had the same shot on a tripod, you could use the same method. These are really good ways to build out scenes and also do set extensions. And also you can add in things to objects and just, add a shadow, but you can completely go in a different world and just use these actual images as references to build, I guess, an actual location. So without further ado, I'll just show you some of the renders that I was able to push out. So these are the animations. This is the object, my logo, that is animating or interacting with. These are the walls. They have a shadow catcher on it. These are a couple more renders that I have. We have objects coming out of the hallway. I have an evil doctor walking down the hall. So you can see a little bit of variation. I'll show you just a quick and dirty way of how to do this. The tool doesn't take long. And then I'll show you some of my scene files. So we'll go ahead and just jump straight in. All right. So the very first thing you want to do is just throw a camera into the scene and look through it. Now we are going to right click on camera, go to tracker tags and camera calibrator. All right. Now we're going to go to the image tab, image, and we're going to click on this. We're going to find the image that we want to use. And we're going to find this image that I downloaded from Getty. So you can use any image that you want. Again, some of the best images or some of the best references have a lot of lines. They need a lot of depth. And then don't get me wrong, it doesn't need depth, but depth definitely helps Cinema 4D and, let it do its thing and calculate the math that's needed. The next thing we want to do is go into our settings. And we want to adjust the dimensions to the size of the image. So let's go 5805 3870. It's overkill for sure. And I can show you how to render out, a smaller version of this. All right, now we can go to Calibrate and let's just go ahead and add a grid. And we're going to line this grid up with the floor. And the more time you take, the more accurate it should be. But I'm going to do this kind of quick and dirty. So all right, that looks good. So hold shift, click until you see blue. Blue represents the Z axis. Same thing here. Red represents the X axis. All right. Now let's add one more line. We need to do the y-axis, and we can use this area right here. Same thing, y. And let's add a pin. Let's place that where we want objects to come into the scene. I did this quick and dirty because I want to show you when moving too fast or just taking a little bit of time, what the difference is. So if I just take my time and align this grid a little bit better, you can already see that multiple things were solved. So this is what you want to see. You want to see a lot more green and yellow in your scene. So again, just take your time, line things up a little bit better. That way it's more accurate in the simulation. And when you're really being hired by a client or a vendor, you really want to do the math. So just take measurements on location of these different features like the depth. I mean, you can do 3D scanners now, which can pretty much give you all this information, but also just adding more lines can give Cinema 4D the ability to add, more calculations. But we're pretty good. We're going to create a camera mapping tag, and we're going to create a background object. All right, cool. So that is saved. So now that we have the tags, I am actually going to switch over to another layout. I am going to use Octane as my render engine. So this is the layout that I have. And let me go to my settings. Oops. Octane. Now we're going to click on play. And you're like, where is our image? All right. So we're going to go to settings. Oops. No, we're not. We're going to go to Octane settings. And then here, you're just going to click alpha channel. All right. Now I'm going to bring in the cube. And I hide that. I use that sometimes as my reference object to see where the floor is. Now we're going to add a plane, but I always use this as a reference just in case. Now we're going to hide that. Plane looks like it's level. Yeah, it looks pretty good. I use that cube as a reference object for later on. If anything gets wonky, then where I know where thing align. All right. So here we have our scene. We're gonna put in another cube because I don't want to touch my reference cube. We're gonna move this on top of the floor and just scale it down. And with the new R25, you can actually just bring in, Illustrator files. So let me see. Leave everything, create vector object, cool. So now you see my logo is in the scene. All right, yeah, so now in R25, you can quickly add. So let's use this as a object to look at instead of that cube. It's kind of boring. All right, cool. So that's on the floor. All right, in the new update, you already have the depth, so you don't need to extrude. So one thing I forgot. So it's already there, so that's pretty cool. So you can just actually extrude it right here. So we are good in that sense. I'll change the textures later. All right, cool. So let's just go ahead and continue to build out this scene. So we'll drag this up to the ceiling. And as you can see, it's a little off. So that's why you should take your time with aligning the plane. But for here, it's quick and dirty. It won't matter. Boom. So that still looks good. All right, click that floor again. Control V, change the axis. And then we'll move this here. So be our wall. It's about the area. One more time. And what I'm using as a reference is the top, see? And our floor can be bigger now. Cool. So as you can see, we have quickly built out a scene where you can interact with. So just take our logo right here. Let's label everything. Left wall. Right wall. Ceiling. This is our other cube that we hid. It's our floor. All right, we're going to shift click on all of these and hit Alt G. Call the scene. Cool. Hit Command S or Control S to save your work. So we are going to create a material, diffuse material, drag it on our scene. And then we are going to go into the diffuse material, go to Common, Shadow Catcher. Cool. And let's turn this cube back on. Let's turn this logo off. So very easy way. Let's make this a little smaller. So this is a very easy way to add in animation into your scene. Might need to do a little bit of tweaking depending on how shadows are hitting and just to make sure that, you know, the walls and everything align. So let's also create a Hdri environment. And you actually for here probably could just get away with using any HDR that's kind of similar, but I'll actually click into this and find that same image. All right. Now we're going to go into our Octane settings, and for a second, we're going to turn off our alpha channel. Cool. Now jump back into your main parameters. And we're going to just line everything up. Cool. So I think that's pretty good. All right, cool. Jump back into our settings. Turn the alpha channel back on. All right, to see it on this side as well, you can just hide your scene. There you go. And hide your Octane sky just by clicking this top ball right here until it's red. All right. Now you can see we quickly have built out a scene. In other versions, you know, I actually used an Octane light and I cloned it, and then I added these lights to the scene to give it even more realism and play with the shadows and different things like that. But as you can see, you can quickly build out animations. And just to show you, I'll throw a X particles dynamic tag onto the cube, go into our scene, click, I'm gonna put a collider tag on this, change it to any. So pretty much every object on our scene has a collider tag now, and we're gonna throw in a turbulence. Motion modifiers, XP turbulence, cool. And just hit play. And before we do that, we're gonna show you that when I added there should be vertices on every point now of the cube. So if we just add more segments, let's say 15, you'll start to see these points, these blue points on our cube. So on our scale, let's just do 250 and let's just do 50. see if that does anything. All right. Yes, now we quickly have an animation in our scene interacting with, you know, the walls, the floor, and you're starting to get those shadows. So that's really cool. All right. So let's just go ahead and quickly texture this, and I want to show you how to render this out. And then I'll show you some of my other scene files. So we're gonna put a specular material on that. Change that to Beckman. I'm gonna show you how to quickly build out a cool material, not very difficult at all. All right, sorry it took a second. So just to go ahead, drag in a crust, any kind of, I am using Grayscale Gorilla. It's plus library. I really like it. It saves on time. Get a lot of these different surface imperfections, scratches, different things. I also have my own personal texture library. So, you know, whatever you use, just drag in a texture image. And before we do that, we're going to go to our specular, go to common, fake shadows. Now we're going to play with the index. Let's do 1.8. All right. Now let's go to our medium and add a scattering medium. We're going to do RGB. And we're going to just drag that into both the absorption and scattering because I'm trying to use the same color. Cool. All right, for our texture, we're going to get a gradient. Drag it right here. Honestly, I did that wrong. Just drag your image into the roughness. Now drag your gradient on top so it automatically connects. And I'm just going to crush this a little bit. Cool. Honestly, I'm going to do it the other way. Cool. And now I'm going to just play with the film. Cool. So very quick way to build out a texture. If you want to use a mixed texture node or anything else to continue to build that out. Now I'm going to jump to this cube, add a fillet, 0.5, and let's run this animation back. All right. You know, very cool, very quick way to build out a scene, build out your own scene from your own mind, or again, if you have any references, if you're trying to extend a set or anything. Let me change one thing in this. Let's make it look just a little bit more. Sorry, I'm picky. All right, cool. So now that we have that, you don't want to render out this background image, right? So what you need to do is hide your background plate. And we are going to switch over to what I actually like to use more than direct lighting. Sometimes I use direct lighting if I'm just I need a quick render. I'm going to use path tracing. Again, you're going to need to recheck alpha channel and then uncheck keep environment. Haha, this was giving me a lot of issues earlier on when I was starting out. So for this type of animation, I'll do 850. It's overkill for sure. I'm gonna do, how many samples? 776. Again, play with these numbers. You can use the compare tool to see how to best save on time, but I'll also show you what I'm gonna do. GI clamp 10, static noise, adaptive sampling. All right. So the lower you have your min samples, this is what it's going to try to correct your threshold at. So let's say for this, even though it's at 850, I'll put it at, that's high, 100, but let's do 100. And then you can increase the threshold a little bit to, let's say 0.5, or no, let's put 0.3. Cool. Camera imager, I do linear 2.2, and then I use denoise. You can use all the other, bloom and different things like that, which is kind of cool. But for now, I'll just turn it off. You can render that out with all the other passes later. All right, so now you see that we have our animation, we have our shadows, everything's looking good. So let's go back into our render settings. And since I locked the ratio, we can just type in a number that's 100 times smaller, but it's still within the same aspect ratio. So let's just do 1200. So 1200 by 800. So that'll definitely save on render time. For me, you can keep your frame rates at 30, but for me, I like 25. I'm gonna hit Control D, change that to 25, and then just put 125. So nice, simple math. Change that to all frames. And again, here, I'm not gonna render this out yet, but just pick a place to save it. If you want, crypto mats, you need to change it to EXR Octane. Quick tip, because crypto mats won't work with anything else. All right. So I'll check that because I want a mat of my object. We want reflection, direct, indirect, subsurface, post, shadow, and refraction. Denoise, beauty. And we go to info passes. So I'm just showing you what I normally click. Not every render gets this because this will increase your render times. But if you really do want a more detailed render, this is truly like a good way to. These are some of some good passes to render out. Motion vector and shading normals also, but for now, this is already overkill. So just hit play to see what that looks like. And always just go through your passes. So we have our reflection, direct, indirect, refraction, subsurface, shadow, noise. I don't need that, but these are crypto passes. Z depth, which you can go right here in tune. That's why I left this window open. So just adjust your Z depth. Cool. They'll allow you to comp in other things later in post and After Effects. All right, cool. So all passes are looking good. AO is looking good. Probably could increase that roof. All right, good thing I checked that. Again, still very quick and dirty. And to go ahead, so everything's pretty good. All we need one more, our post. So let's enable that and jump into that pass so you can see it. All right, there we go. So give that a little play with. Cool. Go back into main. All right, everything looks good. Let's save that one more time. Make sure you're in the habit of saving. And again, use the compare tool. Enable A and B in comparison to save on render times, because again, I know I don't need 800 samples for just a cube animation. And for this, always put a cache into your scene when you have animations, especially using any animation, but for X particles, they have their own cache system. So let's do internal memory. That's good just in case anything messes up. You can stop the render, or if the render crashes, you can pick back up. You can render, so say it crashes at frame 119. I would start over at frame 119 and then just continue the process. And because it's cached, everything will be the same. All right. So file, save that. And again, I know I didn't pick a place to save. So let's just go ahead and do that. Same here. Uncheck that. Format, open EXR. Make sure you click alpha channel. Such a big thing. Alpha channel. Control S again. Add a couple different effects. I go to Control D, mode, view, effects. Will increase render time. All right. And before we do that, on your camera, throw an Octane camera tag on that. And again, you can put a protection tag, but I really haven't been over here to move the scene. Let's add a little bit of motion depth, 0.02. That's also why I did 25 frames per second as well, because that's 1/50th for the shutter. All right, everything is looking good. I think I've hit all points. I'll go ahead and add this to the render queue, but before I do that, I'll just show you some of these other files that I have. So I took a little bit more time with these iterations. So you see the same file. My contact shadows look a little bit better. I have my logo with the subsurface scattering on it. I also have, as you can kind of see, I just haven't turned them off yet, but I actually have lights, Octane lights, that I've scaled to the same size as these and put them in a cloner. And, you know, went ahead and adjusted them as such, but the light looks a lot more real than this version. So again, it's just how much time you want to take. And see what this animation looks like. Oh, I don't know if I have this animation cached. Oh, it says it is. Oh, there we go. Cool. So as you can see, same scenario. I really took my time. Again, with the scene, just making sure that things lined a little bit more. And I mean, they still line on the other scene, but again, just take your time. But a very cool way to add in animations and different things of that nature. This is a little bit different. This was along the lines of using an image to work from and build from your own imagination. Again, something that's very quick and dirty, but as you can see, I built I guess, my own version of the hallway. If I take out the grass, you know, kind of freak this can be essentially like maybe an abandoned subway um, area or something like that. But you can quickly see how I use that image to make this. So, and again, I use pretty much, let me close this. Sorry for the organization. Here we go. Pretty much use all of the same tactics. You see, I put a Octane camera tag on and everything. But yeah, so we just jump back into our main seat again. Everything looks good. We're cached. Cache files are great. Just save so much time. Yeah, we see our shadows are interacting. Just continue to play with it, but I don't want to take too much time with this. So I hope you guys like this tutorial. Please like and subscribe. Follow me on Instagram at A Productions and also at Girl You Parched. That's where you see some of my 3D work and also video production work, tips, different things like that. You can also follow my website at awinnsproductions.com for more downloadable content, tutorials, if you like to collab, work together, whatever it is. So if you have questions, please post them below, or, you know, even email me. Just let me know. You can email me on my website. But yeah, thanks, and stay tuned till next time.